Hey guys, it's Russell back, and on today's video, as part of our series on Bring That Mercedes Back from the Dead, on this episode I'm going to do an oil change. It's embarrassing to let you know how long the oil has been in the car. I believe I changed it 10 years ago. It's got the AMSOIL in it, but you know, the engine obviously hasn't suffered at all, but I want to get that oil out. I'm not going to be putting AMSOIL in this time. I'm going to just be putting the Shell Rotella T. And ironically, when I went to Walmart to pick the oil up, they only had 1 gallon of the T5, and I had to get a quart of the T4. So they're both going to use 1540. It's a little bit different. One of them's, I think, semi-synthetic, and the other is just conventional, but it's all right. What's in there needs to come out just because of the age. I wanted to do an oil analysis test, but you know, it's useless. It's 10 years old. So, but the engine's running like a top. You can probably hear it running. I'm letting it warm up. I want to let it get fully up to operating temperature so that the oil from the oil cooler circulates around, and that way when we drain it, we will get everything out. So I'm going to go ahead and when it warms up, take you guys under the car, and we're going to get the old oil out. All right, since the oil filter housing has the oil filter, and it does contain a good quantity of oil, I like to go ahead and remove this first. It's just a 13 millimeter. There's 2 nuts that are on top, and it'll all make sense if you haven't seen this before in just a second. Now, one thing you have to be careful of when you're doing a oil change on these old diesels is you see all these vacuum lines. It's very easy to, especially on the 300D turbo models, to pop some of these loose. If you do that, then you're going to have a leak in your vacuum system. Now, I'll lift this up just enough to break the seal at the bottom and just let it sit there and drain for a minute. Let me get the bolt I dropped, or nut. Okay, I'll just let this drain for just a little while. And then I'm going to go underneath the car and go ahead and remove the drain plug. I won't need to show you that because there's no way to get the camera under there. All right, sorry about that. The battery died, and I won't be able to see how much of it didn't get recorded. But anyway, so I've got the housing top and shaft here. I removed the large O-ring, and I'm going to remove the 2 smaller O-rings here. Usually 99% of the time the big O-ring always comes in your oil filter kits. These do not. And I can already, they should be soft and pliable like a regular, like you would think an O-ring would, but these are definitely not. See, it just comes off in pieces, which is not good. I like to change these at least once a year. Well, you can do it every oil change if you want. See, these things they're just brittle. All right, so okay, that's good. And then we'll clean this one more time. All right, so let me go get the new O-ring out of our oil filter kit, and we'll install that next. All right, so some oil filters have 2 different sizes of O-rings. The larger one is the one that we'll be using. and it just slips on just like that. All right, here's a shot inside of the oil filter housing. I'm just going to wipe the outside, or where the gasket goes off. And there's a tiny bit of oil. Just inspect inside there. You can take a cloth if you want. It's not going to shed lint, and wipe it off if you wish. It's not necessary, and I'm not really going to need to do that. Alright, so I've got two brand new oil filter housing stand O-rings, and they're just very robust rings. And the way that I like to do this is I like to just put a little bit of oil right in the groove. Just like that. And then go ahead and stretch the O-ring very gently so that it fits in the groove. And then do the second one. Second one's a little harder because it's got to go over the first one, and it's got to go down a couple, like an inch or so, but just roll it down, it'll go. Okay, and then it just pops in the groove like that. Okay. Alright, so we've got our oil draining still out of the oil pan. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and we're going to grab our brand new oil filter, and I'm going to show you how to reinstall that next. Yep, I'm trying to beat that storm that's coming. Alright, so let's go it. Oh, there we go. Alright, this is very easy to do. Hopefully we'll get this done before it starts raining. So you just take the filter element by the convenient carrying handle and just go ahead and stick it down in there. Now there's a pipe that sticks up that has to fit in the middle of the oil filter. Okay, and then we're going to take our cover and we'll insert it directly between the center of the filter, and then it will go down into the hollow pipe that's in the oil filter. We'll locate it on the two studs, and then we'll take our 13mm nuts and put it back on. See what I tell you? Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. This is how it happens. So first I will put the Lucas in. The first time I ever used this was in my 1982 Chevy pickup. It had a 6.2 liter diesel in it, and it really helped that engine. It gave it a lot more power. I'm thinking maybe because the rings were a little worn, and it just helped to seal the engine. So every time I would do an oil change, I would I would put the Lucas in there. Alright, next I'll go ahead and put the regular T4. This is, as I said before, this is what I was originally going to use, but the Walmart I went to, they did not have it, or in the gallon. They just had 1 quart and that was it. Heck, I would have gotten another quart of that if they'd had it, but they didn't. It was all out, so it's okay. One thing, if you're not familiar with the Mercedes, these things will gobble up and be plenty happy with all kinds of oil. Now one thing is, I know some people will take the used motor oil and dump it in the in the gas tank. I had a Mercedes, I ran it on Chick-fil-A oil, but I'm not going to do that. So alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and crank the car up, make sure it's got good oil pressure. It'll take just a second because it's got to fill the oil filter canister up, and we'll see what happens. There we go. Level is almost exactly where it's probably about a half a quart short. But anyway, it's running really good, and very pleased with it. So we will go ahead and end this video, and hopefully you guys are learning some stuff. You know, again, yes, I know this is Mercedes, but this applies to almost any car that you're working on. But anyway, guys, I appreciate your subscribership, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.